So according to multiple media sources, Brigitte Macron's lawsuit against Candace Owens contained pieces of evidence, including photos of young Brigitte, a contemporaneous newspaper announcement of her birth, and the fact she gave birth to 3 children with her first husband, to refute Owens' claims. Word fact is thrown around very loosely constantly, so I really want to dive into what could be real and what seems far-fetched. I keep getting asked, will Brigitte need to prove she's a woman in court? How is it any of our business? How come she had 3 kids if she's a man? We will dive into all of that. Please remember, my video is based on other people's research, opinions on collected proof. I'm just here to ask questions, learn more about the case with you guys, and put it in some type of context to make sense of something that seems to be a very convoluted case. By now, the whole world knows that French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte are suing Candace Owens for defamation over her series Becoming Brigitte, where she presents some compelling evidence of Brigitte being born a male. I want to put a disclaimer here that there is no confirmation of any of those theories. Yes, they are compelling, yes, they are very believable, even though what Candace and French journalists discovered, no matter how compelling, how believable, and logical it seems, it has never been confirmed by the other side. No one swooped in and said, yes, I was there, Brigitte is actually a dude. But we are all obsessed. Everyone is digging, everyone is forming theories based on previous journalists' findings. Now we really need some proof to either prove once and for all that Brigitte is a woman, or she was born a man and transitioned. Time also summarized what pissed the Macrons off, actually. In the complaint, which included 99 pages of allegations of facts and outlined 22 alleged counts of defamation and false light, the Macrons claimed that Owens has endorsed, manufactured and promoted a series of false statements about them, including that Brigitte Macron was born a man and transitioned to identify as a woman, that Brigitte Macron statutorily raped a young Emmanuel Macron, that the two are related and engaged in incest, and that the Macrons have abused their power to conceal their scandalous facts. The lawsuit states that all such claims are demonstrably false and defamatory, and alleges that Owens knowingly laundered the falsities in pursuit of fame. Now, Candace says that there was no evidence submitted. There was nothing. She called the lawsuit sloppy and said it was just some quotes from her podcast taken completely out of context. For you guys not to feel lost, in case you did not follow this whole story so obsessively like the rest of us, here is a summary of the main claims and issues. Candace said she is willing to stake her whole professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is actually Jean-Michel Trogneux, Brigitte's alleged brother. When we compare their pictures, a lot of people claimed they look like the same person exactly. And he vanished. He's basically non-existent. They pointed a few times at a dude in the crowd at some events where Brigitte was. Yeah, there is the guy, there is the brother. See, he's alive. And we're supposed to be satisfied with this. Proof. Okay? I played a detective on my channel as well. I did a deep analysis of the pictures of Jean-Michel and Brigitte. I asked ChatGPT if they are the same person. I know, ChatGPT, not to be trusted, whatever. It was for fun. But you can watch all these videos. You can see what my findings were. I'm putting the links in description. I did their family tree. Literally, I sat down and drew genealogical tree of their families to understand the timelines, who was involved when, where, and with whom. I really tried to figure this out. And yes, if you dig deep enough, it is seriously evident that there is something fishy going on here. But today, I want to do something different. I get a lot of comments from people challenging Candace's theory, asking, how is it any of your business? Or saying, Brigitte gave birth to 3 kids. How could she be a man? Or the good old, her kids look like her. How do you explain it? Let's address all those comments fairly. Let's start with a comment that I keep getting a lot on my videos. Leave this person alone. So what if he or she is not a she? Oh my God, leave her, what she identifies as, alone. There are more pressing orders.
After all she's been through.
But yes, I get a lot of comments like this asking, why do we care so much? What's the difference if she's a man or a woman? How is it any of our business? Well, if we weren't talking about people who are running a big European country, I'd probably agree. Who cares? But those are very powerful people we are looking at, that are making decisions and influencing laws in their country and Europe. Those are people who are supposed to make decisions, take care of international relations. Who they are, what they believe in matters for the rest of us. But people who comment, Why do you care? Forget that there is a bigger picture we care about. Brigitte and Emmanuel's relationship. She was his teacher when he was only 14 years old, when they met. They first said he was 17 years old, then 16. Now they are sticking with 15. They really stick with this number. Maybe we should actually ask Emmanuel Macron to show his birth certificate and proof of when he met Brigitte. Because what if they settled on 15 because it was the safe age of consent in France, which is 15 years old? If it was 14, that would be legally problematic. Not that it's not problematic at 15, suddenly it's becoming okay, but legally, yeah, bigger deal. Public Books wrote, in April 2021, France passed a law that for the first time in its history fixed an age of sexual consent at 15. Up until that point, French law relied on the notion of sexual majority, also set at 15, but legislators never agreed on a particular age at which individuals were regarded as cognitively or emotionally capable of giving informed consent to sex. Thus, even though sexual relations between adults and minors were illegal, they were not automatically considered or prosecuted as R-word if they were deemed consensual. R-word, according to its definition in the French Penal Code, needed to involve violence, coercion, threat, or surprise. If none of these elements was present, these cases could be tried as a delete, or delete, I don't know how to read it in French, an infraction punishable with a maximum of 5 to 7 years in jail, as opposed to rape, a crime punished much more severely. France, in this sense, differed from the United States and many of its European neighbors. What does it mean? It means that even if Brigitte and Emmanuel had sexual relationship when he was 15 and she was 39 years old, guys. I'm 38. It wasn't automatically the R word. It was problematic because she was his teacher, she was in position of power over him. To us today, it is unimaginable. We immediately label individuals like this a PDF file. Without question. Because I bet that if the 39-year-old was a man and the 15-year-old a girl, maybe the public outrage would be louder. And if we add the theory to the mix that Brigitte is Jean-Michel, that makes the age gap even bigger. It would mean that Emmanuel was groomed by a 47-year-old man at the age of 15. It sounds worse and worse, right? Well, imagine what her kids had to go through. Tiffany spoke about it in a documentary called Brigitte Macron, a French novel. And the Times wrote about it. In the new documentary, Brigitte Macron, a French novel, Brigitte's youngest daughter, Tiffany Owens, 34, describes the time that her mother fell for the student. They were quoting her. They were quite smitten, and it was quite obvious between them, and very difficult, she said. Owens was 9 years old when her mother's love affair began. She first heard about the relationship when her sister, who was in the same class as Macron, came home from school saying, "Mommy, there is a crazy boy in our class who knows everything about everything." What is everything about everything? We want to know everything. The documentary also highlights the moment when Macron declared his love for Brigitte when he was 16 years old. So probably he came forward to his parents, I'm assuming. According to the film, his parents asked Brigitte to stop seeing him until he was 18, but she replied, "I can't promise you anything." Imagine confronting an adult. "Please leave my child alone. Please do not sleep with my child. Please don't start a love affair with my child." And that person says, "I can't promise you anything. You can't do anything." What now? I'm not even going to tell you what I would do to a 40-year-old woman who was after my underage son. I can't because I want to stay here. But God knows I wouldn't be calm about it. It does not matter if he was 16, 15, 14. To a normal person, it's a freaking kid. A 40-year-old has no business looking at a kid in a sexual or romantic way. Okay? Here are some recent comments from people online. "I'm 40 now. I would never imagine to see a 15-year-old child with romantic sexual eyes. This is disgusting." Another person, "Stop trying to normalize grooming and predatory behavior." Granted, we do have celebrities that had questionable age differences in their marriages. Let's look at Celine Dion and René Angelil. She was 12, he was 38 when they met. They claim they started their relationship later on when she was 17, still underage. Oh wait, they're French too. Coincidence? But let's say purely hypothetically, the craziest version of the Brigitte Macron rumor is true. She's actually a man. She stole her sister's identity and the French First Lady is basically a real-life Mrs. Doubtfire. What happens then? Well, legally, it would be a disaster. First, in France, your whole life runs on official civil records. Birth certificate, ID card, passport. If you've been living under a fake identity for decades, congratulations. That's a forgery and use of forged documents, which is literally a crime in France. Up to 3 years in prison and a 45,000 euro fine. Second, their marriage, gone. A marriage is only legal if both people are the people they claim to be. So Emmanuel Macron's very romantic wedding to his drama teacher would basically turn into a deleted scene from Netflix. Now, realistically, even if some of the documents were fake, way back in the 1950s or 60s, the statute of limitation on minor forgery might be gone. But here is the catch. Every time you use a fake ID, renew a passport, vote, or sign a government paper, that's a fresh crime. So yeah, if these rumors were real, Brigitte could be in serious trouble. So again, why is it our business? Because we wouldn't want another person from the elites getting away with crimes, for things to be swept under the rug. It keeps happening around us and we should all be sick of it. A lot of people's moral compass is making them obsessed with this story. It just doesn't sit right, okay? Anyway, another comment I get a lot is this one. I don't get her angle with the lawsuit. She's going to have to prove Owens' allegations are false. I'm not a lawyer. I never studied law. I do not have any extensive knowledge when it comes to French or actually US law especially. So please correct me if I'm wrong, and I mean it. Go in the comments, send an email, let me know if I got something wrong, okay? But things are not as black and white as they may seem. Apparently, Brigitte doesn't have to prove she's a woman. Why? Because under American defamation law, she's a public figure. All she has to prove is that Candace Owens made false statements about her with actual malice, meaning she knew they were false or didn't care if they were true. No judge is asking her to walk in waving a birth certificate. This is about lies and harm, not gender checks. Los Angeles Times wrote, "The standard of proof in American courts, especially for people as famous as they are, is very, very high. The Macrons will have to prove that Owens acted with actual malice, that she knew what she was saying is false and said it anyway, or that she acted with reckless disregard for whether it was true or not. The Macrons, according to their lawsuit, sent her 3 separate retractions demands explicitly stating that her claims were false and included evidence such as birth records, marriage records, and photographs. They have asked for jury trial and unspecified damages. Evidence such as birth records, marriage records, and photographs. What is birth records? We need birth certificate. Okay, we badly need it. Anyway, the same article says, "I am disgusted by your relationship," Owens said in January after Macron's asked her to stop accusing the French First Lady of being a transgender woman. "You make me sick, Brigitte." Sure, in our patriarchal world, it's unusual for a wife to be 24 years older than her husband, but President Trump is also 24 years older than his wife, Melania. So seriously, what is the big whoop? Ugh. I love how media count on our stupidity. Nobody is on about the age gap. Nobody cares about the age gap. It's the fact that he was underage boy when they met, when they started the relationship. Anyway, Candace also said that the lawsuit was filed in Delaware, and apparently the judges are known to be crooks there. That's what she said. So it's interesting the lawsuit took place there. Imagine if Macron's filed in France instead. Totally different story. In France, defamation law flips the burden of proof. Owens would have to prove her claims are true or lose. And you can bet the court could demand some form of documentation from Brigitte to squash the conspiracy. So yeah, a French court might actually peek at the birth certificate behind closed doors or whatever. Maybe, just maybe, that's why they decided to sue Candace Owens, not Xavier Poussaud, the OG journalist who wrote the book Becoming Brigitte. No. They are just suing him for online bullying. Very interesting strategy. Here is another comment from one of the people who watched my previous videos. "I cannot stand the Macrons. That said, I have no reason to believe that Brigitte is lying about her gender. She had 3 children. Only women give birth to children. She is vile, but she is a woman. Candace has not provided any real proof, only speculation. She absolutely deserves to be sued." Well, the theory of Xavier Poussaud and Candace Owens is that Brigitte actually fathered the children. Guys, the daughters look exactly like her. Look at this. This is the thing that won't let me fully get on board with the Brigitte is a man story. I mean, because her kids really look like her and her ex-husband. You can see the similarities. Don't get me wrong, everything is fishy. Everything is fishy about this story, okay? So I'm not making any definite statements. What I believe, what I don't believe, I really like to analyze it. I'm, like I said, obsessed. But if we look at the pictures of the kids, okay, and then we look at the pictures of parents, they do look like them. Tiffany looks like her mom. And then especially when we look at Lawrence, her mouth, her eyes, they look exactly like her father's. So yes, if I had to pinpoint something that is not quite adding up, is the children. How do we explain this resemblance to both parents? Macron's claim they submitted in a lawsuit a birth announcement from a newspaper back when Brigitte gave birth. And some people online started asking, why submit a newspaper announcement from a newspaper but not just do a DNA test? Why is it the birth announcement from the newspaper but not a birth certificate? If you want to squish rumors, if you want to free yourself from conspiracy theories, why not do that? It might be a very stupid example, but when Kim Kardashian wanted to squash rumors about her butt implants, she went on TV, she did an x-ray of her butt, laughing, having a good time, rumors were squished. Because it was ridiculous to her. It was a dumb gossip and she nipped it in the bud. Why not do this? Why not laugh it off and just, show us proof? There is just nothing direct, nothing definitive, nothing from either side that could 100% give reassurance of the other one's lies. We just have to wait and see. This lawsuit will be something we will all follow, I'm sure. It will be explosive if it actually happens. But as usual, I want to know what you guys think. You think Brigitte should be asked to provide more proof? Or is it just not our business and we should leave it alone? Let me know in the comments. And really, all of you out there, thanks for watching my videos. It's freaking hard in our times to have a platform to express your views and opinions. And the fact that you guys keep coming back here and engaging with my content seriously means a lot. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to share it, like it, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications to never miss another Daily Freddo episode. And for even more content, follow me on Instagram @DailyFreddo. That's all for today. Have a good one.